In the 10th year since I transmigrated as Du Yuyan, the head lady of the Marquise's manor, my husband Xiao Hongfei, who had been missing for 10 years, returned. He stood before the imposing gates of the Marquise's manor, weathered and travel-worn, yet unable to hide a hint of smugness in his eyes at his return. Yuyan, I am back. These years must have been hard on you. Behind him followed a timid village woman, her coarse cloth clothes washed so many times they'd turned white, wrapped tightly around her body. In her hand, she held a boy of 7 or 8, his dark, beady eyes curiously and greedily sizing up this extravagantly wealthy manor. I stood inside the gate, watching them from behind the tall threshold. Like watching a terrible play whose ending I already knew. I smiled faintly, ignoring Xiao Hongfei's affectionate performance, and simply gave orders to the butler beside me. Close the gates. Release the dogs. The smugness on Xiao Hongfei's face instantly froze. Du Yan, have you gone mad? I am the master of this house. How dare you shut me out? He flew into a rage, stepping forward to force his way in. 2 tall, burly servants immediately crossed their long staffs, blocking him dead in his tracks. I lazily raised my eyelids, drew a stack of papers from my sleeve, and lightly slapped them against the vermilion door panel. The one on top was the property deed to this Marquise's manor, stamped with the bright red official seal, and in the column for the owner, my name was written clear as day. Du Yuyan. Xiao Hongfei, take a good look. This Marquis manor, along with the 120 shops and 3,000 acres of fertile land under your Xiao family's name, all belong to the Du family now. As for you, my gaze shifted to the mother and son behind him, a cold, thin smile curling at the corner of my lips. Go back to wherever you came from. Xiao Hongfei's eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. He pointed at my nose, trembling all over with rage. You venomous woman. Spendthrift bitch, the Xiao family's fortune, how dare you? I laughed. 10 years ago, I had already foreseen this scene. These 10 years, what I'd been waiting for, was today. I wasn't bitterly guarding an empty home. I was pulling off the ultimate switcheroo. 10 years ago, I had just transmigrated over, and before I could even figure out that I had become Du Yuyan, the legitimate daughter of the director of the Court of Imperial Entertainments, and the wife of the newly titled Marquis Yong'an, Xiao Hongfei, a memory that didn't belong to me was forcibly shoved into my mind. It was the plot of a book. The Du Yuyan in the book, 1 month after marrying Xiao Hongfei, received news that her husband had gone to war for the country and died on the battlefield. She didn't believe it, and from then on began a bitter vigil that lasted 10 years. She was filial to her in-laws, managed the household, used her generous dowry to cover the Marquis Manor's deficits, and through her faithful waiting for Xiao Hongfei, earned herself a stellar reputation for being chaste and virtuous. 10 years later, Xiao Hongfei returned. He didn't die. He was only severely injured and suffered amnesia, and was rescued by a kind village woman named Lu Qingqing. The two fell in love over time, and even had a son. Having regained his memory, Xiao Hongfei was deeply in love with Lu Qingqing, and grateful for her saving his life, resolutely brought her back to the Marquise's mansion, facing his original wife Du Yuyan, who had faithfully waited for 10 years. Xiao Hongfei was filled with guilt, yet couldn't bring himself to give up his true love. He said, Yuyan, I can never repay your devotion in this lifetime, but I cannot abandon Qingqing and her child. You are still the head lady of the Marquise's mansion. I will respect and honor you. I only ask that you accept her and the child, and give them a proper status. Lu Qingqing knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face, and said, Madam, I don't want any title or status. I only beg to be allowed to stay by the Marquise's side, to serve you and the Marquis like a slave. Everyone urged Du Yuan to be magnanimous. Even her own family said that it is normal for men to have multiple wives and concubines. Not to mention this woman was Xiao Hongfei's life-saving benefactor. Finally, Du Yan, with tears in her eyes, nodded and accepted Lu Qingqing and her son. She thought her concession would bring her peace. But from that moment on, her nightmare truly began. Liu Qingqing appears delicate and fragile, but in reality, she is cunning and manipulative. Her son was no easy character either. Today Du Yuyan's jewelry went missing. Tomorrow her tonics were laced with poison. Xiao Hongfei always sided with Liu Qingqing, accusing Du Yuyan of making a mountain out of a molehill and being narrow-minded. Qingqing is just a village girl. What does she know? You are the noble marquise's wife. Why stoop to bicker with her? Ultimately, Du Yan was tormented to death by their combined efforts, and only moments before her death did Liu Qingqing whisper the truth into her ear. She was never some kind-hearted village woman. She was Xiao Hongfei's childhood sweetheart. The amnesia back then was nothing but a scheme for them to escape the marriage arrangement and elope. After receiving these memories, I felt a chill run through my entire body. At this moment, Xiao Hongfei was standing before me in armor, bidding farewell with high spirits. Yuyan, this journey to the border will take 3 months at shortest, half a year at longest. I will surely return victorious. Everything at home, I entrust to you. I looked at his handsome face and asked a question as if struck by sudden inspiration. Husband, if you, unfortunately, go missing on this journey and don't return for 10 years, what should I do? He froze for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh. What nonsense, how could I not return for 10 years? He took it as a newlywed wife's worries and gently pulled me into his embrace. If that truly happens, everything of my Xiao family will be yours to decide. I nestled in his arms and nodded obediently. All right, I'll remember that. Xiao Hongfei left. 3 months later, urgent news came from the border. The army led by Marquis Yang and Xiao Hongfei had been ambushed, completely annihilated, and Xiao Hongfei himself left no remains. When the tragic news arrived, cries of grief shook the entire marquise's manor. I wore plain mourning clothes, my face drained of color, as if consumed by grief. My parents-in-law couldn't withstand the blow and both fell ill. I knelt by the bedside, serving medicine day and night, crying as I made my promise. Father, mother, rest assured. As long as I, Du Yuyan, still have a breath in me, I will never let the Marquis Manor fall. I will guard this home for Hongfei, and wait for his return. My filial piety and devoted love moved everyone. Even the emperor issued a decree to commend me, praising me as virtuous and graceful, a model among women. I became the role model for all the noblewomen in the capital. Carrying this golden reputation, I began my plan to squander the family fortune. First step, using the excuse that the marquise's body is barely cold. The manor should not display extravagance. I dismissed most of the singing girls and dancing girls in the manor. Those were all my father-in-law's favorites. And his face immediately darkened. Yuyan, I know you are suffering inside, but the Marquis Manor cannot lose its dignity. I knelt before him, crying until my heart felt shattered. Father, every time I see these pretty young things, I think of my husband. He gave his life for the country. Yet here I am enjoying myself in the manor. How can my conscience be at peace? I cried while coughing violently, as if I would faint dead away the next second. My mother-in-law felt sorry for me and quickly persuaded. Husband, just give in to her. She is only doing this out of devotion. My father-in-law looked at my deathly pale face and ultimately said nothing more. With the people dismissed, the manor's expenses were instantly cut by more than half. Taking the silver I'd saved, I turned right around and bought a large piece of unwanted wasteland in the most remote part of the capital's outskirts, under my own name. Step 2. I started selling off the antiques and calligraphy paintings from the marquise's mansion. This time, even my mother-in-law couldn't sit still. Yuyan, those are all treasures passed down through generations of the Xiao family. How can you just sell them off like that? I knelt down again, tears coming on command. I dreamed of Hongfei last night. He said he is cold and hungry over there, all alone with no one to rely on. I was thinking, what is the use of keeping these dead objects? Better to exchange them for silver, hold more rituals for Hongfei, donate some incense money for him. and pray to the Bodhisattva to help him pass on soon and be reborn into a good family next life. I delivered this speech with such heartfelt emotion, all mystical and rambling. My mother-in-law was half believing, half doubtful, but seeing my increasingly gaunt face from mourning my late husband, she eventually softened. Fine, fine, as long as it makes you feel better. And so, those priceless treasures in the Marquis Mansion's storehouse were sold off cheap, by me one by one, under the guise of praying for my late husband. Of course, the buyers were all people I'd arranged in advance. Those treasures went around in a circle and ultimately ended up in a secret storehouse under my name. As for the silver I got in exchange, part of it did go to various major temples as incense donations, making it known to everyone. The rest, I invested entirely into a newly opened Jingxiu money house in the capital. No one knew that the person behind that money house was me. My spendthrift behavior quickly caught the attention of the Shao clan. Several clan elders came to my door aggressively. Lady Do you know your crime? The leading seventh granduncle pointed at my nose, huffing and glaring. Ongfei's body isn't even cold yet, and instead of guarding the family fortune, you are squandering it recklessly. How can you face him? How can you face the ancestors of the Shao family? I stuck to my old routine: kneel, cry, play weak. Dear uncles, everything I've done is all for Hongfei. I sold the family assets to pray for his blessings. I dismissed the servants because seeing them reminds me of him and brings me grief. Would you rather I laugh and be merry every day for it to count as being worthy of him? I spoke through tears, my words making even the servants around us tear up. Steward Uncle Zhang even stepped forward to speak for me. Seventh Master, you haven't seen it. Our madam has wasted away for the Marquis. Every night she copies sutras in the Buddhist hall until midnight, praying for the Bodhisattva to bless the Marquis's spirit in heaven. Madam's devotion to the Marquis can be witnessed by heaven and earth. The clan elders were left speechless by me. After all, my reasons for squandering were too legitimate, perfectly fitting the persona of a devoted widow. They couldn't exactly stop me from praying for my late husband, could they? In the end, they could only leave behind a suit yourself and depart resentfully. After sending off the clan elders, I became even bolder in my squandering. Today I said the manor outside the city had bad feng shui, offending the Marquis's spirit, so I sold it. Tomorrow I said the shops in the city faced an inauspicious direction, affecting the Marquis's reincarnation, so I sold them too. In just a few short years, the Grand Yong'an Marquis Manor, except for this empty residence, was almost completely hollowed out by me. Everyone said that the Marchioness of Yong'an had fallen ill from missing her husband and had gone mad. My mother from my maiden family once secretly came to see me, holding my hand, her eyes full of heartache. Yanner, I know you are sad, but life must go on. You are still young, why torment yourself like this? I leaned into her embrace, just shaking my head. Mother, you don't understand. Without Hongfei, what is the point of me living? Mother left with a sigh, thinking I was just excessively heartbroken and had gone down a dead end. She didn't know that I wasn't tormenting myself. I was paving an escape route for myself, a broad road leading to freedom and wealth. These 10 years, bearing the reputation of a lovesick squanderer, I secretly nibbled away at the Shao family's assets bit by bit, transferred them, and turned them into my own. I used my transmigrator's foresight to invest in all sorts of seemingly insignificant businesses that would later yield enormous returns. I won over hearts, replacing everyone in the entire Marquis Manor, from top to bottom, with my trusted confidants. Today's Yong'an Marquis Manor has long ceased to be the Shao family's manor. It is mine, Du Yan's. I waited 10 years, and finally this dead man Shao Hongfei arrived, travel-worn, with his true love, an illegitimate child in tow, to claim the fruits of victory. Too bad the fruit had already been uprooted by me long ago. Now, it was my turn to watch their good show. In front of the Marquis Manor, Shao Hongfei's face had already turned from furious to ashen. He stared fixedly at the property deed on the door, as if trying to bore a hole through it with his gaze. Impossible. This absolutely cannot be. Du Yan, what sorcery did you use? This manor belongs to the Xiao family. How could it become yours? I leisurely retrieved the property deed along with that stack of land deeds and business contracts, and slowly tucked them back into my sleeve. It is all written down in black and white with the official seal of the government. Is Lord Xiao blind, or is he illiterate? As for how I managed it, I chuckled softly. I must thank the Marquis for what you said before leaving home back then. Everything of the Xiao family shall be yours to decide. I was merely following orders. Xiao Hongfei's body swayed as if struck hard by a heavy hammer. He remembered now, 10 years ago, he had indeed said those words to me. But that was just empty words to placate his newlywed wife. He never would have imagined that I actually took it seriously, and really decided the entire Grand Marquis Manor right out of existence. You vicious woman. His lips were trembling with rage. I must have been blind to marry you. Lu Qingqing, who was standing behind him, also came back to her senses at this moment. Her delicate face squeezed out just the right amount of anger as she pointed at me and said, "You wicked woman. The Marquise's body is barely cold, yet instead of remaining chaste for him, you are seizing his family's property. How can you face the Marquis?" It would have been fine if she hadn't said anything. The moment she spoke, I wanted to laugh. Remain chaste. Miss, are you joking? I looked her up and down, along with the boy beside her. My husband's body is barely cold, yet you've already given birth to such a big son for him. When it comes to remaining chaste, I really can't compare to you. Lu Qingqing's face instantly turned a deep purplish red, and she stammered, unable to speak. The boy was quite clever though, immediately pointing at me and shouting, "You are lying. My daddy isn't dead. You bad woman taking over our house. I am gonna have my daddy hit you." Xiao Hongfei seemed encouraged by his son's words, the flames of anger reigniting in his eyes. Du Yuyan, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have a few worthless papers. I am the Marquis of Yong'an, personally bestowed by the court, and this Marquis residence was imperially granted. Don't even dream of claiming it for yourself. He roared at the servants behind him. What are you all standing there for? Break down the door for me. I'd like to see who dares stop me. The several attendants he brought immediately moved to step forward. The servants behind me weren't pushovers either. Clubs came out in unison, forcing them back. The scene fell into a standoff for a moment. Quite a few onlookers had already gathered around, pointing and whispering about us. Isn't that Marquis Yong'an? Didn't he die in battle 10 years ago? Oh my God, he has risen from the dead. And he brought back a woman and a child. That Marchioness really is. She stayed a living widow for 10 years, only for her husband to come back with a mistress and a bastard. Keep it down. Look at the Marchioness. She doesn't look like someone easy to mess with. The whispers stabbed into Xiao Hongfei's ears like needles. He had always cherished his reputation, and right now he felt utterly humiliated. Du Yuyan, must you make such an ugly scene? He lowered his voice and said to me through gritted teeth, "What exactly do you want?" I had finally waited for him to say this. I lifted my chin and told him, word by word. Nothing much. A divorce. Then, get lost. A divorce. Xiao Hongfei looked as if he'd heard the biggest joke in the world. Du Yuyan, are you out of your mind? You, a childless cast-off wife, dare to bring up divorce with me? The contempt in his eyes was completely undisguised. Let me tell you, it is only because you stayed a living widow for me for 10 years that I am willing to let you continue being this Marchioness. Don't push your luck. He thought that his willingness to let me stay was already the greatest blessing. He thought I would still be like that Du Yan in the book, wagging my tail and begging for a mere empty title. Too bad, I am not her. Marquise's wife. I sneered. Xiao Hongfei, do you still not understand the situation? Right now, your official position has been stripped. Your title is pending and you don't even have a place to live. What do you have to make me a Marquise's wife? The clothes this village woman behind you washes for you. With every word I said, Xiao Hongfei's face grew darker. 10 years ago, he died in battle on the battlefield. The emperor, moved by his contributions, preserved his title of Marquis of Yong'an and allowed his heir to inherit it. But now not only is he not dead, he has been missing for 10 years, a major taboo at court. The crime of deceiving the emperor could be treated as serious or trivial. What is more, he came back with a mistress and an illegitimate child. Once this scandal spreads, the impeachment memorials from the censorate alone could drown him. Whether he can even keep his title is still up in the air. You? How do you know? He looked at me with shock and suspicion. Of course I know. He thought he'd return to the capital without anyone noticing. But little did he know that the moment he stepped into the capital region, my people were already watching him. How he has been running around court these past few days, hitting walls everywhere. I knew it all. There is plenty more I know. I walked up to him, lowered my voice, and spoke in a volume only the two of us could hear. For example, back then you weren't ambushed at all, you faked your death on purpose to escape. For example, this young woman Liu Qingqing behind you is not some kind-hearted village woman who saved you, but rather a mistress you've been keeping outside your home for a long time, isn't that right? Xiao Hongfei's pupils suddenly contracted. The color drained from his face instantly, and his eyes looking at me were filled with terror and disbelief. He had thought he'd done all this flawlessly. How could I, a sheltered woman of the inner chambers, possibly know? You are spouting nonsense, he retorted, fierce on the outside but weak within. Whether I am spouting nonsense or not, you know perfectly well. I looked at him coldly. Xiao Hongfei, I am giving you two options. First, sign this divorce agreement, take your woman and child, and disappear from my sight. I can't be bothered to clean up the Xiao family's mess. Second, we'll settle this in court. I'll expose every single disgraceful thing you've done over the years, one by one, piece by piece, right before His Majesty. When that happens, take a guess. Deceiving the emperor, corrupt private morals, multiple crimes combined. What kind of fate do you think you and this childhood sweetheart of yours will meet? From my sleeve, I took out another divorce agreement that had long been drafted and handed it to him. Xiao Hongfei stared fixedly at the divorce agreement, his hands trembling like fallen leaves in the autumn wind. He wanted to explode, wanted to tear my face apart, but he didn't dare, because he knew everything I said was true. I truly had the power to destroy him beyond redemption. Seeing that things were going badly, Liu Qingqing, who was standing nearby, started her act again. She fell to her knees before me with a thud, crying so hard she could barely speak. Madam, I beg you, please be magnanimous and spare the Marquis. All the wrongs are my fault. I am the shameless one who seduced the Marquis. If you want to punish someone, just punish me alone, she cried while reaching for the hem of my skirt. I stepped back in disgust, avoiding her hand. Save your tricks, Miss Liu. I have no interest in watching you put on an act. I looked at Xiao Hongfei and gave him an ultimatum. My patience is limited. Sign or don't sign. You'd better decide quickly. The murmurs around us grew louder and louder. Everyone's gazes were like knives, scraping across Xiao Hongfei's face. He had spent half his life on the battlefield, proud and arrogant. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? Being forced by his own wife to sign a divorce paper in front of the entire city's populace. This was worse than killing him. His chest heaved violently, his teeth grinding audibly. Just when I thought he would rather shatter like jade than remain intact like a tile, he suddenly snatched the divorce paper and pen from my hands. With bloodshot eyes, he glared at me fixedly, signing his name stroke by stroke, pressing so hard the ink nearly bled through the paper. After signing, he hurled the pen to the ground, as if he had exhausted all his strength. Du Yuyan, you are ruthless. I'll remember this. I picked up that divorce agreement and blew on the ink on it with satisfaction. Likewise, I put away the divorce agreement and turned to enter the manor. Wait, Xiao Hongfei suddenly called out to stop me. I turned back and raised an eyebrow at him. Anything else? He pointed at the gates of the Marquis Manor, his eyes filled with a last trace of unwillingness and venom. This mansion I can do without. But the ancestral property of my Shao family, the farmlands, the shops, you must return them to me. That is the blood and sweat of several generations of my Shao family. What right do you have to take them? I laughed. Shao Hongfei, have you forgotten? Those things were sold off long ago by this spendthrift woman here. What? He looked as if struck by lightning. Didn't you already know how I've been squandering these 10 years? I spread my hands in feigned innocence. To pray for your blessings. I sold everything that could be sold. Now the Marquis Manor's treasury is cleaner than your face. As for those shops and farmlands, they're all under someone else's name now. If you've got the ability, go get them back yourself. Of course, there was no way he could get them back. Because all those things are now under my name, Du Yuan. All transactions followed the most formal procedures, documented in writing and completely airtight. Even if he took it to the authorities, he wouldn't get a thing out of it. You. Shao Hongfei pointed at me, so furious he couldn't catch his breath. His vision went black, and he fell straight backward. Father, Hongfei. Lu Qingqing and the child immediately panicked, screaming and rushing forward. I watched this farce coldly without a ripple of emotion in my heart. Butler. Clean up the entrance. It is an eyesore to me. With that, I turned and walked through the gate. With a bang. The Vermilion Mansion gate closed heavily behind me, shutting out all the noise and disgrace outside. From today on, I, Du Yuan, am free. After the divorce, I lived a life like an immortal. No in-laws to serve, no husband to please, and certainly no annoying relatives to deal with. Every day I slept until I woke naturally, had the kitchen make whatever I wanted to eat, and went wherever I wanted to go. With the money I won from the Shao family, I opened the capital's largest restaurant, the trendiest clothing shop, and the most profitable rouge boutique. Silver flowed into my pockets like water, endlessly pouring in. I became the richest woman in the capital, and also the most controversial woman. The rumors about me were mixed, some good, some bad. Some said I was devoted and virtuous, admirably guarding chastity for my deceased husband for 10 years. Others said I was deeply scheming with ruthless tactics, having completely drained my husband's family of their wealth, and even shutting out my returned husband, truly a disgrace to womanly virtue that angered both gods and men. To all this, I paid no mind. The mouths grow on other people's faces. Let them say whatever they want. I just closed my door and lived my own good life. As for Shao Hongfei's fate, it became the biggest joke among the capital's citizens during their leisure time. After signing the divorce papers with me, he and Lu Qingqing, along with her child, slunk away and moved into a dilapidated small courtyard in the southern part of the city. That little courtyard was only temporarily lent to him by a former subordinate who took pity on him. He had hoped to make a comeback relying on his past military achievements and connections. But after 10 years of being missing, things had long changed at court. His former colleagues had either been promoted, transferred, or had long since cast him, the dead man, out of their minds. What is more, he still carried the stains of deceiving the emperor and moral corruption. Everyone avoided him like the plague. He ran around between various government offices and residences, but all he ever got was cold rejection. Without the financial support of the Marquise's manor, he quickly fell into dire poverty. And his kind and gentle, true love, Lu Qingqing, after experiencing initial shock and resentment, finally revealed her true nature. She had thought that by following Shao Hongfei back to the capital, she would become the lofty Marquise's wife and enjoy endless wealth and glory. Who knew that not only did she fail to become the Marquise's wife, she had to live with him in a rundown courtyard and suffer through hard times. How could she stand such hardship? It is said that from then on, there wasn't a single peaceful day in that little courtyard. The sounds of quarreling, crying, and things being smashed never stopped. Day or night. Lu Qingqing accused Shao Hongfei of being incompetent and a liar, claiming he had tricked her into abandoning her stable life to come to Beijing and suffer with him. Shao Hongfei cursed her back for being short-sighted, despising the poor and loving the rich, only knowing how to enjoy comfort but unable to share hardship. The so-called true love they once had back in the countryside was quickly ground away under the friction of reality, leaving nothing but a complete mess. Listening to these reports from my subordinates, I was leisurely lying in my courtyard, eating chilled grapes while watching the newly arrived dancing girls perform. Steward Uncle Jong stood to the side, hesitating to speak. "Madam, there is something this old servant doesn't know whether he should say or not. Speak, that Xiao Hongfei, after all, was once your husband. Now that he has fallen so low, shouldn't we offer a little assistance, to avoid outsiders saying you are too heartless?" I spat out a grape seed and gave him a casual glance. "Uncle Jong, if you throw a piece of meat to a starving wolf when it is about to die of hunger, would it be grateful to you?" Uncle Jong was stunned. "It won't." I answered for him. "It will only think that you stole all its prey, and now you are just hypocritically tossing it some scraps and leftovers. Once it eats your meat and regains its strength, the first thing it'll do is turn around and tear out your throat. The best way to deal with a starving wolf isn't charity. It is to make sure it can never stand up again." Uncle Jong felt a chill down his spine upon hearing this, and hurriedly lowered his head. This old servant was confused. I waved my hand, gesturing for him not to panic. "However, you did remind me of something. Someone like Xiao Hongfei won't give up easily. Right now he is probably thinking of other ways to deal with me." As soon as I finished speaking, a servant boy hurried in. "Madam, this is bad." Outside, a group of people came from outside, saying they're the Xiao family's clan elders and they want you to go out and give them an explanation. When I arrived at the front hall, several clan elders of the Xiao family were sitting there drinking tea with dark expressions. The one leading them was still that seventh grand uncle. He slammed his teacup heavily onto the table. "Douchey. So you finally decided to come out." I leisurely walked to the main seat and sat down, as if I didn't see his face that was about to spit fire. "What is seventh grand uncle saying? This is my home. Why wouldn't I dare to come out?" "Your home?" Seventh grand uncle sneered coldly. "Don't forget, you were once a daughter-in-law of the Xiao family. Does Xiao family blood flow through your veins? How dare you occupy the Xiao family's ancestral home?" Seventh grand uncle must be getting senile. I picked up the tea served by a servant and gently blew on it. "Xiao Hongfei and I divorced long ago. It is written clearly in the official documents. I am now Du Yuyan, not some Xiao family daughter-in-law. As for this mansion, I bought it from Xiao Hongfei with real money, with all the proper paperwork, legal and legitimate. How does that count as seizing it?" Seventh grand uncle was so choked by my words he couldn't speak, his old face turning purple. A slightly younger clan elder beside him stood up, his attitude somewhat gentler than his niece-in-law. "Oh no, Miss Du. We didn't come here today to argue with you. We know that Hongfei, he was in the wrong first, he let you down. We can all understand that you have resentment in your heart. But after all, he is still a descendant of the Xiao family. Now that he is down on his luck, we can't just watch him end up on the streets and become a laughingstock to outsiders. So, we wanted to discuss with you this mansion. Could you return it to Hongfei? Of course, we won't let you suffer a loss. However much you spent back then, our clan will pool the money together and give you double. What do you say?" He spoke quite politely, but I knew this was just courtesy before coercion. If I didn't agree, next would come the threats and enticements. I set down my teacup and smiled. "Uncle, you must be joking. Let's not even mention how much I spent back then, and whether you can even afford to pay it back. Just look at the property prices in the capital, they change day by day. Can prices from 10 years ago compare to now? I spent 10 years of effort to turn this empty shell of a marquee mansion into the prime real estate it is today, and you want to buy it back for just double the price? This scheming, isn't it a bit too calculated?" That clan elder's expression also darkened. "Du Yuyan, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. We're advising you nicely to save your face. Don't forget, for a woman reputation is the most important. You are being so ruthless today. Aren't you afraid of retribution later, of people poking at your spine?" I am afraid, I nodded, looking sincere. That is why I must hold on to this mansion. Hold on to this family property with them. I can eat well, drink well, and live to 100. As for other people's spines, even if they poke them broken, it has nothing to do with me. The clan elders were completely enraged by my impervious attitude. Seventh grand uncle slammed the table hard and stood up. Du Yuyan, I am asking you one last time. This mansion, will you return it or not? I also stood up, looking down at them from above. Not only will I not return it, I also have something to tell you. I clapped my hands, and butler Uncle Zhang immediately came up holding a tray. On the tray lay a thick stack of account books. I picked up the one on top and tossed it in front of them. These are the accounts of the manor from when I first took over the Marquise's residence. At that time, the Marquise's residence had been running deficits for years and was already spending beyond its means. There were still debts of over 100,000 taels owed outside. It was me, using my own dowry, who bit by bit filled in these holes. I tossed down the second book. This is the record of me selling off family assets to pray for Xiao Hongfei's well-being. Every single penny's whereabouts is crystal clear. And these, I pushed the remaining account books in front of them. These are the records of how I, over these 10 years, revived those Xiao family shops that were on the verge of bankruptcy, step by step, until they were raking in gold daily. Dear uncles, this mountain of gold and silver you are looking at now wasn't stolen from the Xiao family by me. It was earned by me, Du Yan, penny by penny through my own abilities, and now you want me to just hand over my life's work to someone else. I let out a cold laugh, my eyes flashing with an icy gleam. Do you even deserve that? The clan elders were dumbfounded by the account books I threw at them. They flipped through those densely recorded accounts, their expressions shifting from anger to shock to utter disbelief. They had always thought I was just a woman who relied on her maiden family's dowry, lording over others in the Marquise's manor. They thought I was just lucky, that I sold off the Xiao family's businesses and happened to catch a good market, making some money by chance. They never imagined that behind all this, there was so much effort and planning. Looking at those business strategies they had never heard of. Looking at those commercial layouts they wouldn't even dare to dream of. They finally realized that this woman before them was nothing like the sheltered noblewoman they imagined they could manipulate at will. She was a lioness in sheep's clothing. Seventh grand uncle's hands trembled as he pointed at a spot in the account book. This Jingshu money house, you are the one who opened it. Yes. And that plot of land in the South City, you bought it 10 years ago. That is now the most prosperous market district in the capital. That is right. And also he couldn't go on anymore. Because he discovered that behind the most profitable businesses in the capital nowadays, there was actually my shadow in all of them. I spent 10 years weaving a massive web. A web of a commercial empire that belonged solely to me, Du Yuyan. And the Xiao family from the very beginning was merely an insignificant stepping stone I used to get started. Now, do you uncles still think I seized the Xiao family's assets? I looked at them leisurely and composed. The hall was deathly silent. No one could answer my question. After a long while, that clan elder who had been relatively polite earlier slumped back into his chair and let out a long sigh. We underestimated you. Miss Du no. Boss Du, such impressive tactics, such remarkable abilities. We accept our defeat. After he finished speaking, he stood up and bowed deeply to me. For all the offenses before, I hope Boss Du can be magnanimous. Seeing this, the other clan elders also stood up one after another, following his example and bowing to me. Their attitudes did a complete 180, from coming to interrogate and condemn to bowing and scraping. Because they knew that with my current wealth and means, dealing with them would be as easy as flipping a hand. Their Xiao clan, in front of the current me, is simply not worth mentioning. I calmly accepted their bow. You uncles flatter me too much. The Xiao family and I, after all, once shared a connection. As long as you don't come causing trouble for me in the future, I naturally won't make things difficult for you either. As for Xiao Hongfei, I paused, a meaningful smile tugging at the corner of my lips. He is, after all, a descendant of your Xiao family. How to deal with him is your business. I only have one piece of advice for all of you. You can't prop rotten mud against a wall. The clan elders' faces turned green and white in turns. In the end, they said nothing, and slunk away with their tails between their legs. I knew that after they returned, to preserve the Xiao family's reputation, they would most likely pool money together to give Xiao Hongfei a settlement fee, so he wouldn't go out and embarrass himself anymore. But that money would only be enough for him to barely scrape by. As for making a comeback, that would be absolutely impossible. I thought this matter had come to an end here. Unexpectedly, a few days later, an unexpected person came to see me. Liu Qingqing. She came alone, without bringing that child. She was wearing old clothes washed until they had faded white, with several visible bruises on her face, and her hair was a tangled mess. She looked even more wretched than last time in front of the Marquise's manor. The moment she saw me, she fell to her knees with a thud. "Boss Du, I beg you, save me." I sat in the grand armchair, looking down at Liu Qingqing, who was kneeling on the ground. Her face was black and blue, with a split at the corner of her mouth. She had obviously been beaten. The only person who could lay hands on her was Xiao Hongfei, no doubt about it. Save you? Why should I save you? I picked up my teacup and sipped it leisurely. Liu Qingqing raised her head, her face covered in tears and fear. "Xiao Hongfei. He is not human, he is a madman. He is useless himself, so he takes all his anger out on me. He beats me every day, curses at me, says it is all my fault he is ruined. Boss Du, I was wrong, I was truly wrong. I shouldn't have listened to his lies and followed him back to the capital. I shouldn't have been so delusional, thinking I could become some marquise's wife." As she spoke, she kowtowed hard, and her forehead quickly turned red. "I am begging you, for the sake of us both being women, please have mercy and give me a way to live. As long as you can help me get away from him, I am willing to work like a dog for you. I'll do anything." Looking at her wretched state, I felt nothing. If she had known it would come to this, why did she act that way back then? Back when she followed Xiao Hongfei and flaunted herself in front of me, did she ever think she would end up like this? No need to work like a dog. I set down my teacup and said flatly, "I don't keep freeloaders here, much less ungrateful wretches." Liu Qing's body stiffened, a flash of despair crossing her eyes. I changed my tone. "However, seeing as you've been sensible enough today, I can point you to a way out." She immediately looked up as if grasping at a lifeline, her eyes full of hope as she gazed at me. "Please tell me. As long as I can get away from that devil, I am willing to do anything. It is simple." I looked at her and said, enunciating every word, "Go to the authorities and report him. Report him." Liu Qingqing was stunned. "Yes," I nodded. "Report him for abandoning his lawful wife, abducting a commoner woman, and deceiving the emperor. Tell them everything exactly as it happened. How he tricked you into eloping with him back then, how he faked his death to escape, and how he coaxed you into bearing his children." Liu Qingqing's face instantly turned deathly pale. I can't. If I do that, I'll be arrested too. Abduction. That is a serious crime. What are you afraid of? I sneered coldly. You can just say you were a naive young girl deceived by him. He sweet-talked you and lured you away from the countryside. You are a victim too. Then, you expose how he has been abusing you, beating you all these years. You are the weaker party. The authorities and the common folk will naturally sympathize with you. As for Xiao Hongfei, a trace of coldness flashed in my eyes. With multiple charges stacked together, he can forget about ever getting out of prison for the rest of his life. Liu Qingqing stared at me blankly, seemingly digesting what I had just said. I continued to up the ante. "After it is done, I'll give you a sum of money, enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. With the money, you can return to your hometown, or go anywhere you want, and start your life anew. Or, you stay by his side, being used as a punching bag until one day he beats you to death. You choose." I gave her a choice. A choice to completely break free from the past and be reborn. Also a choice to completely trample Xiao Hongfei into the mud. I knew she would make the right choice. Because a selfish woman like her would always choose the path most beneficial to herself. Sure enough, after a brief struggle and hesitation, Liu Qing raised her head, a ruthless determination to go all out gleaming in her eyes. Fine. I'll report him. I'll do as you say. I'll go report him. Liu Qing was very efficient. The next day she appeared at the entrance of the capital prefecture covered in injuries, striking the grievance drum. She accused the former Marquis of Yong'an, Xiao Hongfei, of deceiving the emperor, marriage fraud and abduction, and abusing women, one case after another, with blood and tears, heartbreaking to hear, bringing listeners to tears. I had already secretly arranged everything in advance. The capital prefect immediately filed the case and sent people to arrest Xiao Hongfei, who was still in that rundown courtyard dreaming of a grand comeback. The witnesses were Liu Qing and the son she had hidden away. The physical evidence was accidentally found by people I sent. The love letters exchanged between Xiao Hongfei and Liu Qing back then, as well as the false evidence he used to deceive the court when he faked his death. With ironclad evidence piled like a mountain, Xiao Hongfei had no way to defend himself. He was thrown into the Ministry of Justice's prison, and what awaited him was the emperor's thunderous wrath and execution after the autumn assizes. This once spirited and arrogant Marquis of Yong'an exited the stage of history in such an utterly disgraceful manner. As for Liu Qing, because of her meritorious contribution in voluntarily exposing the crime, and her pitiful circumstances being truly a victim, she was released on the spot by the prefect of Jingzhou. I fulfilled my promise and gave her a large sum of money. She took the money and with her son quietly left the capital without a trace. From then on, with vast skies and open seas before her, she had nothing more to do with me. Having resolved all the troubles, I could finally completely relax. On a sunny afternoon, I sat in my spacious and bright courtyard, brewing a pot of fine Junshan silver needle tea. Sunlight filtered through the gaps in the grapevines, casting dappled shadows on the ground. A gentle breeze swept by, carrying waves of floral fragrance. Steward Uncle Zhang stood bowing behind me, reporting to me the profits from each shop this month. So, madam, our total profit this month comes to this amount. He made a gesture, his face showing undisguised joy and admiration. I nodded, not surprised by this at all. Got it. By the way, I said as if remembering something. Did you deliver what I asked you to send to the Ministry of Justice prison? Uncle Zhang was stunned for a moment before realizing what I was talking about. Reporting to madam, it has been delivered. This old servant followed your instructions and sent him the finest wine and dishes, along with a set of clean bedding. It is just, the way he looked at this old servant, it was like he wanted to eat me alive. I smiled, picked up the teacup, and took a gentle sip. The tea's fragrance was crisp and refreshing, invigorating the senses. What I had Uncle Zhang deliver was certainly not some last meal before execution. I just wanted Xiao Hongfei to truly experience one more time, in the final moments of his life, what it means to be in the clouds, and what it means to be in the mud, what it means to desire but never obtain, and what it means to be worlds apart. Back then, for the sake of so-called true love and freedom, he abandoned me, and also abandoned his responsibilities and honor. He thought he could have everything. In the end, he lost everything. And I, the woman he abandoned, obtained everything he dreamed of, even things beyond his wildest imagination. For him, this must be even harder to bear than death. I don't know if he, in that prison, would feel regret when waking from dreams in the dead of night, but none of that concerns me anymore. I set down the teacup and looked up at the sky. The sky was so blue, the clouds so white. What a lovely day it is. The days ahead are still long. I still have many things to do. For example, spreading my business all across the land. For example, going to see what this world I've lived in for 10 years really looks like. As for men, what even is that? Can you eat it? Can it be as lovely as the silver in my hands?